Yeah, she's got it all.
Thing about the banks, I just listen to banks.
Yeah.
Yes, that's where Sam's here. Yeah, this one, Sam, I'm gonna have Sam go first.
Well, that's their restaurant.
That's agenda item 6.
Yeah, we'll be done by now.
I'm sorry. Is it tomorrow?
Yeah, I am.
It's national.
And like this.
Thanks, so it's their conference. Yeah. So I met and that was sitting. Sorry,
I get it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He's like, I think it's just.
One downstairs. This is the one thing.
It's last.
Yeah.
Okay, so Bradford.
Double check.
Is everyone signed in? Everybody signed in? We're about ready to start the meeting.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Bill.
Well, everyone, we'll bring the meeting to order. Madam Clerk.
So I'm gonna identify myself right off the bat, in case I make any comments. Lisa Venezia Blair Clerk,
Okay.
Mr. Malloy,
Here.
Mr. Hernandez,
Here.
Mr. Bernard.
Here.
Okay, so we're gonna start out, we want to welcome first treasurer-elect Augustino Ragazzino's in the house today.
Sorry.
And we do want to start with Treasurer Lamacusa, since you have to get back to work, Treasurer Lamacusa.
Thank you.
Is this agenda item 6?
I was agenda item number 6.
Okay.
We're moving me. I graciously am thankful that you're moving me to item number 1 because I got to get back downstairs for collection, which is taking.
And plus, we were over our limit of Gerard people.
Yeah, there's too many Gerard people in the
Machine in here, so one of you's gonna have to leave, so.
So, yeah, I'll leave and Augustino can remain here as a Gerard person. Anyway, now you see it threw me out of whack.
Number 6.
Number 6, our depository, boilerplate product. We've been doing the depository agreement per Ohio Revised Code since I've been here in 2001. It's every 4 years. We must notify the public banking institutions of our need of public depository. And there's a bid packet that the team up here in the commissioners, the ladies team up here in the commissioner's office does an outstanding job with getting to the banks and everything. My very first go around with this in 2000, I had 104 phone calls from 5 banks. They were questioning every single thing. I met with this team up here after that one in 2000, that team's no longer here, by the way. Those people are all gone. But I met with the team that says, I don't have time to answer 104 phone calls. We have to make this depository agreement more understandable to the layperson, because it seems to me like the bankers want to make it the way they want it, not the way I want it. So we took drastic changes in 2011 when we did that depository agreement. And ever since then, this team up here does an outstanding job. Prosecutor's office has reviewed every single thing that's in our packet, have approved it. We just continue every 4 years to virtually either update it a little bit or use the same packet. Long story short, everything went very smooth this year, very it's too late now. I already made it a long story. Everything went very smooth, very up to date. We had of the 9 banks contacted, we had and by contacted, I send a letter to any Trumbull County banking institution along with the legal advertisement that goes in the paper and everything. That letter has been approved by the prosecutor's office, by the way. It's not like I'm going out and finding anybody or anything. As long as I include every Trumbull County bank in my letter, we're okay. So there was 9 letters sent out. We had 5 responses. Those 5 banks are being recommended in your resolution as our public depository to be able to accept monies at any point in time from Trumbull County for depository agreement for any investment agreement. Those banks are Huntington National Bank, First National Bank, Key Bank, Farmers National Bank, and PNC Bank. So once again, thank you to the team up here for all their help and all their great effort in getting this done. And you won't have to do it again for another 4 years in the first or the last week of August. Any questions?
Do we go out to credit unions too, or just?
No, it's only banking. Credit unions under the code can't do it. We do use credit unions for CD deposit, for CD purchases, but that's the only thing we can use a credit union for. The depository agreement that has stopped the credit unions from being eligible has been addressed by the Senate and the House of Representatives, but they never came to a successful address to it. But they do allow us to use credit unions for investment purposes, but that's why they're not included in the deposit.
Sam, the amounts fluctuate. Is there a reason why?
They are our bid packet that goes out, and our advertisement is advertised as we have an anticipation of any point in time of having $210 million available for depository purposes. So they are given that number, and they can choose to pick any amount of dollars that they would wish to have. Now, the reason that occurs is it has to be insured at 103%. So they have to write collateral against our money at 103%, which is different than anybody else's money, because anybody else's money, they only have to insure up to 250,000 at 100%, not at 103%. So our total depository has to be insured at 103%. So we don't wish to burden a bank and have a bank say no, because we want them to take the whole amount. So any bank that wishes to bid and the amount that they bid, we never go over that amount when we do use them.
Were there any changes from out of these 5 from the last 5?
Believe it or not, the only change is the dollar amount. It's the same 5 that have been on the list. This will be their 4th go around for all 5 of them to be on the list. I believe First National increased their dollar amount, and Farmers decreased their dollar amounts. But that's the only per se change that has occurred over the last 4. I could give you those exact numbers if you
No, this one.
Very good, Sam.
Okay, gentlemen,
Great job.
thank you for the courtesy of moving me forward.
Oh, no, well, you got work to do.
Okay.
We appreciate you wanting to be moving forward to
Okay.
get the work done.
Have a
Thank
blessed
you.
day, folks.
All
Thanks
right,
for your
you too,
time.
Sam. Thank you. Okay, so we'll start with agenda item 1. Have dispense reading the minutes of the workshop dated July 22, 2025, and the regular meeting July 23, 2025. 2, to approve the bills. 3, the transfer of monies submitted by the Trumbull County Auditor between the dates of July 17 through 23, 2025 is listed. These are all Board of Health. I don't know if there's any questions on those, commissioners. Or to approve the additional appropriations submitted by the Trumbull County Auditor, July 17 through July 23, 2025 is listed. 5, approved transfer of appropriations is submitted by the auditor, July 17 through July 23 of 2025. Sam did 6. And okay, senior services to appoint a Mr. James Marlowe to the Trumbull County Senior Services Advisory Council for the term of July 30, 2025 through December 31, 2027. This is to replace a vacant term that was held by Lynn Welch. Denny, you.
I interviewed him on the phone. Great credentials. He talked about his background with that. It's all senior related. He seemed very excited to bring his talents that he has to assist the board. So I want to nominate him based on the interview that I did.
Commissioners, we have an additional that we're going to have to, I don't know if there's a deadline on this.
There isn't, but I think there's 3 more open spots.
Yes.
We need 4 total. He's the only one that was able to interview yet at this time, so that's why I'm putting him forward. I think the other ones we'll need to act on in the next couple of weeks, probably, but I don't know if we need to act immediately, but I would say, like I did, at least a phone call with them to see where their intentions are. And I know there are a couple of applications we have. One is rather old, and I'm sure it's been updated potentially, but I didn't get a chance to talk to anyone else yet.
Yeah, my only comment is that anybody that's interested, they should, notify us and let us know that they're interested in serving, because we only have, like you said, we have, I think, 2 more in there.
Yeah.
One may be conflicted.
Right.
So anyone that's interested in serving on the committee, they should let us know and send a resume in to us.
And this is for the Senior Services Levy Board that meets monthly. They decide how the senior levy money is spent. They monitor it. They advise, as we'll see later today, on decisions regarding the senior community that we have and the funding structure that goes towards them. So I know there's a lot of people with great hearts out there that may have the time to care for the elderly and have some good ideas, maybe have some experience in that. And we're always looking for the best people we can get. So I don't know if there's so much of deadline as I think we would open the deadline up, or at least I'd recommend if we find the right candidates. If we don't have the right candidates, we need to-
Meetings, that's all.
Right. And we do have an additional 4. We have 5 total, so we can look over, if we want to make those phone calls. To the
Yes, some of the
additional.
ones we have here now, yes, of course.
Okay. So we'll move on to 8. We have John Hickey here. Oh,
Yeah.
there's John.
Charles Hickey, Trumbull County EMA. All it is, it would be the communications package for the mobile command posts, which would include the Marcus radios, VHF radio, ham radios, all, everything that it would entail, all the installation, programming, everything top to bottom.
And this is our, the general fund.
I think I told you before, we chose to do this locally versus when we bought the unit.
Hudson does a lot of work for a lot of areas here, so.
Yep.
Okay, any questions? Thank you, John. So we'll move on to Gary Schaefer, Trumbull County Engineer.
Commissioner, yeah, Gary Schaefer, Engineer's Office. Number 9 is concur with our office, close the following roads. Delaware, that was the emergency closure last week to do those emergency repairs at the railroad. Over 304 there, that's complete. The second one there is Bristol Robinson Road. close out between 5 and 82, and that's for Graceville Community Foundation Fun Run Walk, that comes up every year, and that's Saturday, August 16th this year, between 9 and 12. Just want to mention another closure, didn't make this agenda, will be on next week, but that's for this Wednesday, so it'll be tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. through Friday at 5 p.m. Closing the bridge there on North Levitt, it's just north of Market Street. We're gonna be doing some repairs to that bridge, some just basic maintenance repairs to it. Closed down, so we get a super truck on it. The intent is to concur with our office and grant the special annual supplier fleet permit list.
Okay.
And then, we got Commissioner Bernard, I did follow up with Jerry Nareau, who's the district deputy director of the ODOT, about the interchange there at Market Street and 82. He said he did have a chance to speak with his, I think it's Trumbull County Maintenance Supervisor. He said he'd touch base with him again to make sure he needs either a skid steer or bulldozer out there, level it off. They have to use that location. They're kind of boxed in. They don't have too many other locations. We're going to dump that dirt, continue to spread that out.
Is he aware that there's other items out there other than dirt?
He does not know that for a fact, no.
I think some stuff needs to be hauled out of there other than just low on and off, is my information. So maybe you could reach out to the superintendent.
Yeah, I can work. Oh, I know him really well too, so I'll have that discussion. I'm sure Jerry's not the other down the back. Time I call, he's got to trust his people.
And, by the way, Bellwick, from that area, a lot of accolade for the way that they repaired that railway there.
Yeah, that's a tough closure just because of a couple industries that are out there.
Right.
I'm sure they're happy now their trucks don't have to bounce over there.
Exactly, yeah, did a nice job. But,
Pass that along.
and we did have an enlightening meeting with Kimberly Clark the other day, Trumbull County Engineer, discussing some things to come, so,
A lot of things.
Yeah,
A lot of
a
moving
lot.
parts on that project.
yeah, so, we can expect commissioners to, have some things in the works with Kimberly Clark moving forward. Not at liberty to mention what it is right now, but we will discuss it. Have discussion on it. And I did see that, they just, approved their, Warren Township. Trustees approves
The abatement.
the abatement.
Gary, one other thing on the exit over there, maybe you want to reach out to a trustee, Kay Anderson. They did a tour over there and she can enlighten you on some of the problems over at that.
Okay, yeah, she'll have some.
Before you reach out to the maintenance supervisor there. Because I think there's some problems there. Or some concerns.
Okay.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you. Thank you, Gary. Okay, sanitary, Gary Newbrow.
Gary Newbrow, sanitary engineer, commissioners item 11. Roma's work out and the Yankee Lake project is complete. And he is submitting his maintenance plan. Item 12, this is a change order to one of the sanitary lateral assistance program with slab contractors. There's a change order for a reduction, and it's because one of the houses is no longer qualified. Property changed hands and the new property owner doesn't meet the financial requirements.
Okay.
Hang on.
Right, we like seeing change orders.
The limit on that.
I like literally, I just held my breath till I read it. I was like, okay.
Casey, 911.
Tacey McDonough, 911 Director. Number 13 is to approve personnel action for the employment of Miss Autumn Madrid, full-time dispatcher for Trumbull County 911, effective start date of August 4th. She'll be paid $23.50 per hour. That is mid-range with her experience. She's a dispatcher from New Mexico who relocated to Girard recently. She's really excited about starting, and all her reviews and documentation we got supported that she was a really good dispatcher there. So we look forward to having her start and get another body on the floor. I do have a couple questions, but, I can wait till there's only two other items, so wait for that.
Okay, and I do want to mention while we're at 911 that we do have a hold on the engineering study. Only because we do need to meet with the Board of Health to get our agreement in order here and establish, not that we're not going to move forward, but we don't have really anything in writing. We don't have from the Board of Health, the agreement in writing. So this has been all verbal. So there was a couple things that we didn't really understand and maybe, I don't know, should we?
Well, we had a
Call a
conference
meeting.
call, we had a conference call and I was on it, the prosecutor was on it, J.C. was on it, and they are putting stuff down in writing for us, it should be done.
From,
Any-
that's kind of what I wanted to touch on,
Okay.
since you jumped into it.
Go ahead. We have a short agenda, Tayson.
I'll try to be quick. From what I've heard, just from my conversations with them, they had a couple questions about what we're paying now and some things. That should be probably coming to you guys maybe next week.
Okay.
I think they were finalizing it this week. I kind of wanted just to see where you guys were at with it. I know obviously there's no long-term funding in place, but there's been some serious issues at our building in the last couple of weeks that are raising serious concerns. Number one, obviously maintenance has been involved, helping us, the elevator's broken. That's gonna be probably around $30,000. There's still the outstanding issue of potentially having to move the power to separate off the hillside, which is supposed to be about $100,000 to get that completed. In the last 2 to 3 weeks, we've been dealing with excessive sewer smells, from the pipes apparently being dried out. The solution was to run water down those about once a week. Last week, when they ran water down those, we started getting severe leaks in the ceiling right over one of our dispatch positions onto a dispatcher while she was working, onto the brand new equipment. So that building is obviously, beyond help. I mean, and my concern is if you're gonna be putting money in to fix the elevator, to fix these things, then you're gonna say, well, you're stuck there because we put all this money into this money pit. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where my concern is. In addition to the numerous emails I have from our staff, bringing up health concerns with headaches, eyes burning, throat burning. They've had the fire department out there with the gas meter thinking it was, the other type of gas. I got there the other morning at 5:15 in the morning. They had the front doors to dispatch propped open with the police officer sitting out in the parking lot to make sure nobody just wandered in while they were trying to air out the building. I mean, you have prisoners who live and work in better conditions than what our dispatchers are in. So, I mean, I get that you guys have inherited things, Denny, obviously, this is your second term. You inherited it back when you were there. These are obviously problems that go way beyond my 2 years. Thursday I'll be here 2 years. I was told when I was hired, we're gonna get you a new building, and I get that there's no money, but there's sometimes where money needs to not be the option, and we need to get out of that building based on all the positions we're having.
Yeah, and I know I can speak on behalf of all the commissioners. 911 will not be in that building. It's gonna be a move. What we're just saying is, and once we get that agreement, then we will escalate that to move forward and free up those monies to continue. I think they had already done some studies. There were about $1,200 worth of studies out of the $92,000. But, we're aware that there are bad conditions there and that we need to make a change and a move, and that move's gonna happen. It's gonna happen on my watch. I can't speak for the commissioner, but I believe they're on page with what I'm saying. It's just, we want to be organized and make sure that we know what the terms of the agreement are so that we don't get ourselves caught up into something where we're moving forward. And needs to be a discussion on
Yeah.
the agreement. So-
Understandable. I think my biggest concern with that as well is, if you decide to sign a lease or whatever that may be, once that's hammered out, it's not gonna be a quick process to get us moved, and I don't know how much longer we can limp along with these problems. I mean, obviously, you can't run water down the drains without having leaks, so it's just kind of a twofold problem of how do you fix it? And then the other thing we're finding out is, we have a 911 outage right now affecting Gerard and Niles. And I've been dealing for 16 hours with Lumen, Brightspeed, AT&T, and everybody's just sitting in the room going like this. And that's the problem when you have multiple vendors, and that's no fault of ours. It's, Lumen was partnered with Brightspeed, with CenturyLink, and they separated off. And, so right now it's just been a whirlwind of problems. I mean, that's one reason why we're setting up a brand new network. You know, I did speak with the consultants prior to you guys kind of putting a pause on it. They said everything that we've done in the last 2 years has been great because we've replaced a bunch of equipment that's gonna end up saving money in the long run. So realistically, we should only have building renovations and the actual move and the networking cost. The only equipment we really need is gonna be furniture. We've replaced, you know, networks. I'm looking at replacing our 911 network. That cost that for renewal for 911 right now is gonna be $125,000 for this year. I'm in talks with them to go to a hosted solution, which they can handle everything remotely. We don't have any hardware on site other than the actual systems that we currently have, but it'll all be done remotely in a hosted solution. It's most likely gonna be cheaper than what that $125,000. So I'm not, we're supposed to be renewing like right now, and I'm in talks with them to try to put a pause on that, because why spend $125,000 on technology that's 6 years old when we could go to hosted and get the brand new technology and it potentially be cheaper because it's more of a subscription-based service as opposed to hardware. You know, so it just seems like everywhere we've gone, and I get it, I know small governments are all in the same boat of not having money for these things. But we're in dire straits of where we are with our technology and our equipment and systems, because for 30 years it's been neglected and not maintained.
I did have a conversation with Mahoney County Commissioners, because we were talking about things with the coroner, as far as they have an idea, but they want to meet with us about a regionalization plan with the coroners. Brought it up to the commission about 911, they have no interest because their funding structure is different, and the way they have their 911 set up in that county is so vastly different than ours as far as the centralized location. They said there's no interest, it wouldn't work. So we did explore that possibility, at least just in case, as another option. Did the questions I had, I guess, Daryl, did you get a chance to ever get in there and see? We had talked about that there's potential of asbestos in that building. Did you get a chance to look at any of that?
The best, Daryl Dunnigan Facilities, the best that we could determine, the asbestos is the old floor tile in the upper levels. As far as in the heating or anything like that, we didn't find any evidence of it, but definitely in the floor tiles.
And they've got apartments above it that are sealed off to keep us from that, but some of those rooms have been boarded up for 15 years with nobody in them and no access to get in, but they're still there. There's still
And that's the
potential
problem we
mold,
have with the
mildew,
drains
ridiculous.
causing, so when the drains dry out, the traps dry out.
And we do have to go up there. I know I've been up there for the last 2 days because our equipment room's up there. So, I mean, from what I've been told with this asbestos is as long as the tiles aren't broken, you're fine. But obviously, I don't know how reassuring that is. I mean, I don't know how reassuring it is to inhale what smells like sewer gas all day long either is, but you know, so the one thing I could say for your co-location and your kind of that whole idea, maybe there's potential if we do move into the Cortland Bank that we could maybe get Gerard, Niles and Lordstown to maybe do like, if they don't want to do a regional center, maybe we could do a co-located so we could share some equipment costs or, you know, streamline those things. I don't know if they would entertain those ideas. I highly doubt it since Lordstown's looking at adding a second 911 position there at their facility. But those are all things I know Erie County and you know, over in Erie County, they have a co-hosted solution where they have Sandusky Police Department and Perkins Police Department and Erie County are all in the same room. You still have your separate entities, but they're all kind of sharing the same networking costs and whatnot. So that's a potential solution too.
Well, I think ultimately, I think the move, I don't see where I really don't believe there's gonna be an issue with the move above the health department, unless the study
Well, there
comes
could be.
back, comes back and says,
I mean,
you know.
there could be, there could be a legal aspect of that agreement. I think Mr. Danzo will back me up on that. And then also, we met with our new consultant, KO, and we're asking them to look for some grant money for us. So I don't think it's a premature done deal that we're gonna move there. I think we may have to advertise where we're gonna go, guys. Right? And then let's don't forget the money. It's not a free move because it's gonna take money to get that room, up to par to where it needs to be. And I understand the health issue, but the sewer issue, that's a new issue on me. Have you been out there? Can you alleviate that problem?
Yeah, I've been out there. We could alleviate it, but sewer gas is coming on, past dry up, so. The problem is once we turn on them drains or them faucets, it's behind us something new, and corroded pipes or whatsoever, so. While we're turning them on, we slowly find something new, but I think we can alleviate the problem.
Without getting into a lot of money, until we can find out exactly what we're gonna do there. Okay? And the other thing, the elevator, I mean, there's what, 2 offices up there, so the elevator doesn't need to be fixed, correct?
Well, the elevator is used to bring equipment in when we need to, and I know they've used it in a medical emergency before to get somebody out.
So commissioners, we would then, HR already has a backup and we would have to find. And we have had employees who have been on crutches, who have been in wheelchairs, and they do need access to their workspace. That would be a ADA accommodation that we absolutely have to entertain.
And that's why we looked at the airport initially
Right,
to
so,
move, and we couldn't because of lack of an elevator at the second floor.
well, if I could just finish though, we do have a plan. They did do an HR, I am very well aware of the elevator situation. Should there be a need for an employee or a public access, there's not much public access, so I'm not too concerned there. They can come up and service the public if they need to, but if I need to get if we need to get an employee in there. Who has had an injury or for whatever case may be, we're gonna have to find them a potential offsite workplace, which I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm hoping we can get the EMA. We might have to utilize that sooner than what we anticipated. For a 911 dispatching console center, or I don't know, but we have to make an accommodation to your point, so. Yes, that is something that I will have to, if that happens, but we'll cross that bridge when it comes. But she's also correct in saying we can't get any equipment up and down. We can't. The ABI machines, machines were supposed to be taken out. Those cannot, none of that can be done.
And
Nothing can be done.
I called Masterton today because since that whole
Right, that's how it all happened.
potential changeover, they've not serviced it, so like. We have no snacks there, which, we have people working 12-hour shifts that wanna run and grab something. So, I mean, I have stacks of emails of complaints from dispatchers about the various working conditions.
Yeah.
And issues that we've had pop up, and they're starting to look at me like, what's management doing about it? And I'm like, hey, all I can do is funnel up the food chain, I'm just a cog on the spoke as well, so that's kind of the issue that we're having with that,
But yes, I mean, we can't afford to be down at dispatcher, so we would have to make reasonable accommodation and find an alternative work site, yeah.
So did ABI deliver the machines yet or not?
they can't, because the elevator can't.
We were meeting with them today.
So I called them.
It's inoperable, I mean, I wanna be very, it's
Yeah, it doesn't
done,
work.
and there's no fix. First of all, again, I really don't wanna get into this publicly, but it was a makeshift elevator, it was not the right thing to begin with. So again, we already know this, public knows this. We're just kind of rehashing, I mean, we just keep saying the same things, right? But the elevator was not good, it was a makeshift solution, it was not, I mean, yes, it was up to code, I'm not, that's here nor there. We just need to figure
What
this
about that
out.
side door? Can't you utilize the side door to things in up?
There's still.
There's still
that's
steps, yeah. There's steps no matter how you slice it or dice it.
So a perfect example, a couple weeks ago, we had a delivery of batteries on a pallet, it weighed 400 pounds. So
And out of all we-
me and Harlan ended up busting the pallet open and we carried 24 batteries down ourselves. But like if that was a one piece of a device, like say a computer server or something like that, that weighed that, you're not gonna be able to get a pallet jack down to go down, 10 steps to move that.
So. We have an elevator that needs repair. I mean, what are we gonna do? You're gonna have to dump money, huh?
We can't fix that.
No.
That building's gonna be knocked down as soon.
What
as
about when we get that, when we go to move out? We're gonna be able to get all the equipment out without the elevator?
Oh, we got some young guys with strong backs.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. On a positive note for something that's good news that I did receive, for potential future of a move. I have been dealing with Agile, one of our radio vendors. They are interested in potentially being involved in putting a radio tower out at the fairgrounds there in Portland. They said potentially the county's cost would be, around 500. I think that's what you guys paid for the Brookfield one. And they would do all the maintenance and upkeep and all that. They would be interested in presenting their, potential solution for that. that came up when I was dealing with a radio renewal issue. He's like, hey, are you guys gonna put a tower up? And I said, we might, and he kind of said, well, they work with cell phone providers and that stuff. So it's be kind of like similar to the Marks Tower type deal. So they said when we're ready, they would be more than happy to present that idea.
And then they'll get the revenue instead of us.
Yeah, but they also have the maintenance and upkeep and all that too. So it depends on how you wanna, because if there's anything I've learned in this county is if you don't have people who still work here that are responsible for equipment, you have no answer. That's part of my 911 issue right now. There is nobody in this county that knows how to get into the Cisco routers that connect Gerard to us and us to Niles. And that's what Brightspeed's saying is the issue. I think it's a circuit issue because I can log into the computer and I can ping those addresses and I can get communication back and forth. But when you're at Niles and you try to ping us or Gerard and try to ping us, they can't get us. So if my actual physical hardware is up and running, then that tells me that the connectivity, the bandwidth between the two is not talking, which then leads me to believe it's either Brightspeed or Lumen, and they just sit there and keep pointing at each other and jerking me around for the last 16 hours. So it looks like I'll have another 16 in it by the time today is over, so. So there's something to be said for not having to do maintenance on something. That's all I'm saying. And that's why we're replacing our network, which is another thing that's gonna save money in the end when we move, because we're replacing all the guts of all that. And then when we have an issue, I can say, hey, IT guy, you know the credentials, you know the passwords, you can log in and you can fix our problem, so.
See, Alex, Steve, Jesse, Bush, Human Resources, how far off are you, John and Casey? Just, again, how far off are we on the EMA and making it possible to actually dispatch out of it? Should there be any, we keep kind of, eventually, I'm telling you, there's gonna be. I know that.
On our end, we are probably 2 months out, and I say that because part of the part of the new network that we're putting in with my IT guy that I'm hiring for the 911 side of things. He's about 4 to 6 weeks out to getting our new network up because we have all the parts. He's waiting for the IP configs from Lumen. Once he gets those, he's gonna basically come out to our office, set everything up with 5 temporary computers and leave them up for a week and make sure everything's talking and working before we flip the switch to the 43 agencies we dispatch for, because we don't want to break that connectivity.
Right.
So that's about a 4 to 6 week portion. And then from there, we have to get the ACM connection for FirstNet for our building to basically talk
To the EMA vehicle.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay, I mean, because at the end of the day, guys, whether it's sewers, whether it's elevator, we've known this, we've had this plan. Thank God, so we just gotta get through the next 2 months and get it rolling. So we do have to back up. And that's it, commissioners, that's transparent, that's where we're at, so. Just trying to make sure that we have backup.
Seems to be no easy solutions here. I don't know about any kind of legality. I mean,
Right, that's why we gotta get everything in order and figure out what we're gonna do.
okay, we're gonna have to discuss this, because we do see the need, it's been going on for years, and we can't have 911 continue in these conditions. And we're gonna have to make some decisions. We can't keep pounding money in a building that we're gonna knock down. So we have a situation where we have.
Our first step is we gotta get with the Board of Health, see where they are, get them.
Right,
finished on
but
what-
then I wanna find out what the legality of that is too. I don't know, it was brought to me. That there might be some legal issues here.
Bill, isn't it, if it's over X amount of dollars, then you have to go to bid?
Yeah, Bill Danso, prosecutor's office. I think we've talked about it very briefly, but when we were initially told on this, it was my impression that we were talking about no rent charge. This was we were gonna pay for utilities. And my impression of that was that we'd be moving in paying for our utilities, our county's costs and utilities moving in, the renovations too, all that kind of stuff. When we had our phone conference with the Board of Health, it appears their intent was for us to pay all utilities for the entire building, including theirs, and also perform some of the groundskeeping and maintenance work and, or pay for some of the maintenance work, including things like their fire alarm system, things like that. And I think that's the issue, because technically speaking, if the commissioners are gonna enter into lease for property, for buildings to run county offices, there is a requirement in 307-86 that we don't do traditional competitive bidding, but there's a separate process for leasing of properties for this. Now, an exemption to the 307-86 is leasing from other political subdivisions, townships, other counties, things like that. The problem is, in that statute by name is not mentioned boards of health of a general health district or combined health district. So my concern is, and I haven't been able to find anything on it, frankly, is there an exemption from the competitive selection just because they're another government entity, because they're not really named in that statute as an exception to the bidding requirement. So my fear is, if we're talking paying rent essentially, or even if they call it utilities, but they're not just our utilities. My concern is that we could have an issue with that 307-86. We may be required to go out for competitive selection for leasing of property. That's not to say they couldn't submit a bid if we do that and still win that. But we may have to follow that if that is the intent. Because I don't think that we can get out of it just by calling it utility fees instead of rent, if it goes beyond what we have to pay for our spot in that building. And the other concern, obviously, is if they're 911 funds, I don't think from an audit perspective, we could use 911 funds to pay for the health commissioner's, expenses.
And I think from the preliminary discussions, I think what they had intended on us just paying our utilities, but what they discovered is kind of similar to the Hillside situation. It was gonna cost way too much money to separate everything out. And that's why they decided to go at looking the other way of just the lease payment that would
And then the
encompass whatever.
The other option that we could have, if that's the case, now again, like I said, they seem to be more suggesting they wanted all of the utilities covered, which I think, if I remember correctly, came out to a little bit over 40,000 a year all in for what they were asking. If that's not their goal, if their goal is just because we can look, it's expensive to separate out utilities. I think that's something we could even potentially talk to Maximus about by doing a sort of like a square footage calculation on, hey, if the total is 43,000, we're using 26% of the square footage. There may be an option to do that if the Board of Health, if that's still on their radar of what they're thinking. If their intent though is that, no, we really need some income generation here to help offset the cost of all this, then I think we have to maybe think further about it. And that's what, maybe when they do get that proposal to us, maybe they'll have a little more clarity in what they're thinking that we can go off of.
Well, the other option they have is they said the city court, they're gonna be the same exact boat we are. They're no different than we are as far as the deal. I mean, if they try to offer that same deal to them, it's illegal for us to be illegal for them too.
The only thing I will say, I can't speak to, the city of Portland's a charter municipality. They do have some other powers that counties don't always have. So I'm not sure about that, but you could be right. I'm not saying you're wrong.
Well, we just need to step it up on the research to figure out what we need to do. That's all.
I think where we're at is that, on the research end, what we need to decide is if this is something, and I think we're waiting sort of to see their proposal. But I think if their proposal comes in and they say, no, this is what we need, and we want to talk about whether or not we still are required to go through a process, that could be something that we get an opinion from the Attorney General on. We could ask for that to be expedited. It's a simple one issue question. I think if we have to do that, maybe get an answer back. And that's something that I absolutely would talk to Mr. Watkins about getting that done so we could get an answer. But I really would like to see their proposal first to see whether that is even an issue. So.
Yeah, I guess it's all hinged on what we receive next week.
Well, according to the article that was in the paper, they said that they need to recoup the money for the $550,000 that they paid for the building. Correct.
If that's the case, that's.
Right, well, that was a board member's opinion.
Right, that's the thing. I'm not sure.
Well, somebody that
exactly.
was negotiating the contract though, or the agreement with you guys, and if we're gonna have a contract, the commissioners need to be involved, because we need to know what's going on, okay? So, once they do submit something, we need a meeting with them you know, we need to know the total cost, what it's gonna cost to renovate.
Sure.
What's gonna cost us, you know, for the rent, whether it's utilities or what, and maybe we have to look at another option. I mean, I don't know, you know. But
That'll
I mean, that's
that'll be
why,
up to the
and
board.
that's why we asked KO to look at some funding for our own building.
Commissioner, what I question the 550,000 to recoup, if 911 wasn't there, they would have no recoup
I
anyway.
didn't say, they said.
Well, I'm just saying,
If we weren't there,
I'm
they-
not saying you said it.
There, they would probably just run it out to anybody. I mean, it's 8,000 square feet.
Yeah, but
The
we're gonna
going
have to
rate
pay
is
the remodel
anywhere
too,
from
though.
10 to 15, a square foot for regular rental rate. So I think they were looking at having a partner who was within county government as well. That way they know they have a long-term, partnership and try to help us out because they know our situation.
Well, they're helping us out, but we still have to pay for the renovation.
Well, you're gonna have to do that wherever you go.
Well-
And in addition, you're gonna have to pay for new feasibility costs that you've already paid for, not to mention the structural engineering, not to
We
mention that
already had a feasibility study for down here.
for 3 buildings,
And
Yeah.
it failed.
and it failed.
Right.
Right,
So
That-
if you-
well, that's why I voted against having another one done.
Well, if you move to another building, you're still gonna have a feasibility study no
Well,
matter where you go.
I think we have to look at all the options, and I'm saying.
Definitely, we're we don't know where we're at yet with the Board of Health, so once we get that in order, then we know, a little bit better about what direction to
No,
go.
I'd rather have our own building, if we can have it. Then once it's paid for, it's paid for.
Yeah, but now we're
Agree
talking
with that,
$3,
but
$4
you're
million
looking at
versus 1 million. Right now, we can't,
But they're
4
making
million would take care of all three of our needs we need right now.
more, probably more than that. Well, we'll see what KO's got to tell us at some point in time. They're doing some research, I'm sure.
Casey, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Know that we're looking and we will make moves. I know it's taken a long time and I've only been here 7 months, but I've been coming to all the workshops and I know that you've been very patient and, we need to move forward with doing something here.
And we need to find
14.
money.
14, to authorize Trumbull County Board of Commissioners join Purdue Sackler settlement relative to pending opioid litigation, authorize the board's outside opioid legal counsel appointed by Trumbull County Court of Common Pleas on December 14, 17 to vote on its behalf in the Purdue Sackler bankruptcy proceedings and authorize myself, Richard Hernandez, President of the Board, to execute any and all required documents. Danny, do you know what this is?
Well, I think probably we're gonna need an executive session to discuss that.
Yeah, I mean,
Right, Mr. Prosecutor.
Yeah, I think it should be discussed in executive session. I think that, we can get in touch with our counsel on this. If you want to try to set something up even tomorrow, we can probably throw an executive session on and see if one of our attorneys could be available for that.
I have a question. Is Galucci with Purdue? Okay,
This is the one that Frank
Okay.
Galucci and Shayna Sachs.
I know,
have been our
I
primary.
know where we're at. I didn't recognize the Purdue Sackler. So, yeah, we do need to go now. Do you want to do something today from the floor, or would you rather do it tomorrow?
When you talk to Galucci, you have some type of an offer, you have some type of thing.
I have something that we could discuss, and it wouldn't
So
take,
we want to
very-
discuss
it
it
wouldn't
now,
take
or
very
do we want
long.
to discuss it tomorrow and then vote on it right after? Yeah, we had that
Yeah,
point.
however you'd like.
Well, here's my question. Can we go into executive session now?
Yeah, it would be
We
very
just have to
quick.
do the official
Yeah, we need to,
roll call or the motion and call vote.
Right, can we move this to the back then a little bit? Let's
Yeah.
get through this last one, and then a couple comments we have, let them go, and then we can do that.
okay, 15 is to appoint Attorney Robert Berkey as counsel for Trumbull County Board of Commissioners to provide legal research, advice, consulting, including related litigation regarding filing a petition for the annexation of Gearmark properties in Weathersfield at the rate of $200 per hour. Now, my question is, why do we have to pay for that?
I asked Mr. Gansel.
Is this something, Bill, that we are responsible for when we aren't? We're being petitioned, but we're not acquiring land, so.
Right, Bill Danso, Prosecutor's Office. The reason for that is because our office has a conflict with statutory clients in this case, and the petitioner doesn't cover the cost of conflict legal counsel for the board on this kind of stuff. This is a situation where the annexation has been filed by an attorney, and it's for, I guess you'd say, the benefit of Niles, the city of Niles. But Weathersfield Township is where the property is located now. They're a client of our office as well. The board is going to essentially sit as the judge on this case. And when this is been filed as a regular annexation, which is a contested annexation type. It's not one where they enter into an agreement with the township and everybody negotiates and comes to a solution. This is a regular that's going to have the whole process of public hearings. It's going to be contested, presumably the whole way along by the township. And because of that, we can't assist the board with legal advice on the annexation that would be against the interest of our client, Weathersfield, who may want to object to this.
Right.
So that's where that comes in. The good thing about this one in particular is this is not the first time this annexation's been filed. It was filed in the past and voluntarily dismissed by the attorney. And last time this happened, the board had Attorney Berkey appointed as counsel. He's already familiar with this some degree. He's assisted the board with other annexation conflict issues we've had. And he does so at a fairly reasonable rate, in my opinion. So I think that as far as cost goes, there's a reason that Mr. Berkey is on your agenda today as a potential choice, because he's going to be able to do it probably at a lower cost than many other new attorneys coming into this brand new.
So the question is we do incur a cost if the land is acquired by Niles. Is Niles, do they have a are they committed to maybe pay us back for those costs?
No. The only thing that there is a fee for filing annexations, I believe, and that's to cover the cost of just the administrative procedure, the notices, the hearings, the things like that. But it does not build in costs. I don't think it can build in costs for outside legal counsel.
He answers that question. So I'll have to vote on that tomorrow.
I mean, I agree with you, Commissioner, but because it's costing us money to lose property. Basically.
But there's nothing we could do about it, evidently. We need an attorney. And
This is one of the Sheriff Taylor Commissioner's Office. This is one of the things that we pay for a lot of things. A lot.
I'm wondering.
Maybe we should have the state budget, our state reps look at that and see if we can't change that with the ORC.
I never thought it was fair. We had to pay so many
Yeah.
things.
That's one item that, next time that Nick and Dave are in here, that we can ask them to take a look at it.
Write that down somewhere. That's a very good one. That's a very easy one. I would think for them to add on to it. Bill. Don't put the burden on us.
If there are any other things that you have,
Yeah,
jot it down, let
Okay.
us know, we'll present it to them.
I sure will, because we do have to pay for a lot of things that I really don't believe
No
is
benefit
fair.
to us,
No,
right.
not at all.
We could have 4 or 5 annexations come up, it would be.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Had a lot of them.
Okay, this will be quick, but the commissioners make a motion to enter an
No,
executive.
let's see if there's any comments from the public and then do it, is what I'm saying. That way they don't have to sit here and do this while we're gone.
Be here in 2 minutes.
You think it'll be that quick?
What do you need? I think so. I mean, I don't think you're gonna.
Yeah.
It's only gonna be a very quick. I'd be surprised if we're 5 minutes.
Okay.
You are at that, Commissioner?
I'm all right with this.
Okay, so enter into executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 12122G3, conferences with an attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are the subject of pending or imminent court action.
Second,
I'll make a motion. You can. I'll,
As read.
Right.
Motion by Commissioner Bernard
it's ready.
as read.
Hey, Mr. Bernard,
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
Yes. Will only be very short, very short.
Go on with the same. Yeah. We need a motion to reconvene.
Yeah,
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we reconvene from executive session pursuant to ORC 12122G3, conferences with an attorney for public body concerning disputes involving a public body that is subject to pending or imminent court action.
Second motion?
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
yes. Okay,
And then we need to on that item.
tomorrow.
Item 14.
Or, yes, it's the one we, sorry, already had one, yeah.
We'll vote on it tomorrow. Okay, well, we'll move to public comments.
I've got two quick things, because Commissioner. First, we had the tour 3 of the Economic Development Tour on Friday with the Tourism Bureau. We had State Rep Thomas on board with us. We had people from the auditor's office. We had people from the Attorney General's office. We had representatives from sanitary engineer or highway engineer, Chamber of Commerce, and many others. I think we had 18 on the bus. And we went first to a place called Sweet Memories in Liberty. If the public hasn't seen it yet, it's the number one tourist destination, I would say, in Trumbull County they have to see. And what it is, an old time candy store that has every type of candy that they've made from the 40s all the way to current day. And they've expanded that to be they're a t-shirt business also that makes t-shirts with the logos of these candies. So they've got over 125 trademark rights to make the shirts. They sell them all over the world, but they're made right here in Liberty, Trumbull County. They worked hard. They started with one candy thing and it went to another, and it's even got classic pickles and stuff that they have the rights to make t-shirts regarding that. And they crank out about 600 shirts an hour, and they're shipping them all over the world. And it's a growing, booming business. They've expanded also to a toy side of the business. The other one side is old time candy, the other side is toys. And it was like old board games you haven't seen since you were a little kid. I mean, they even have big wheels and new in a box where you can buy a big wheel for a kid like we had when we were kids growing up that you haven't seen in the stores forever. And their toy line was immense. But it's if you're going to go there, you got to take an hour and a half to see everything. But it's right in Liberty. It's called Sweet Memories. We went from there to met with Arnie Claiborne and saw what was going on in Liberty. They've got a lot of development projects that are happening in Liberty. One of them we stopped at was the rehab hospital, Mercy Rehab, not mental health rehab, regular rehab for people that have strokes, heart attacks, things like that, accidents, spinal injury accidents. They have 60 beds, the top technology in the world as far as harnesses, things like that to get people walking again, and they even have bedrooms and cars inside where people learn how to get in and out of a car again, how to get in and out of bed. It was top-notch facility. So if someone needs rehab, that's open now. And then next to it is going to be the mental health rehab with another 60 beds that'll open in December. So that's going to be booming for Liberty. Then we stopped at Jimmy's Italian Specialties, learned their story, how they've been here for almost 100 years now, and how it grew from someone's garage selling fruit basically to what it is now. Food there's fantastic. The lunch was great. It was lunch hour we got there just in time because they probably had 60 people come in for lunch hour. From there, we went to Valeric and toured the factory there. And it was awe-inspiring because as we walked in the footsteps of like where grandfathers did back when it was the booming days. And we had to put on the protective gear, had to walk basically a half a mile up and down steps into the blast furnace that's electric, 15,000 volts, and watch them basically take old car parts and scrap metal out of a train, put it in the pot, melt it down, and then pour it for pipe that is used in the oil and gas industry all over the world. And they're one of the top producers in the whole world when it comes to solid pipe, pipe that seamless pipe, I guess you call it. And the new factory they have there too is the technology is top notch. But for someone to work in those conditions in a steel mill, I mean, whether it's people that work at LTV in Cleveland or people that work here, it was already 90 degrees. It had to be 120 inside, and the guys wearing all their protective clothing. I almost died just from the heat. And there were other people that were falling out. It was hats off to those people that make the world go round when it comes to work in those conditions. But they do over 2,800 miles of pipe a year out there. I mean, that's a lot. And they're one of the world producers of that. So that was neat. And then we finished up after that at Pastimes. And that's got over 600 pinball machines.
You're the pinball wizard.
I am the 25 Chamber of Commerce pinball champion. But They had over 600 pinball machines and $20 you can play all day. I mean, it was booming for a Friday afternoon. It was packed, and I'm sure Friday evening was even bigger. They have tournaments there. You bring the whole family for $20, let them go play every video arcade game from Space Invaders to pinball machines all day long. And they have a little diner in there, makes great milkshakes. So again, another something we saw that may not be the biggest industry, but it is an attraction that people bring people to Trumbull County. There's people from all over the country. They come to pastimes that are pinball aficionados, collectors. They hear about it. They drive from New York, New Jersey, places like that to see it. He does have the Guinness Book of World Records largest collection of pinball machines at almost 1,200. And he's got over 650 on display there that you could play all day long.
I hear Mr. Berkey has more at his house than his basement.
Well, it was quite the thing. So
Yeah.
that was neat. So I'll just give you an update on the next one. They're going to do in about a month. It's going to be showcasing Niles. So right now, Beth and I are looking for attractions and Niles that they want to show off to the economic decision makers in Trumbull County. And I'm sure there's going to be a ton of them. I'm looking forward to it because the first 3 tours were home runs. This weekend, this Friday, is the Mosquito Economic Development Seminar. They got 48 people signed up already, from people from the water department in Warren to all those entities again, the Attorney General's office, the state reps, Congressman's office, about the future of Mosquito Lake, what's happening, what could happen, what future development plans could be for that region, central part of the county. Breakfast is going to be included for free, sponsored by sportsmen's clubs in the county. And then we're doing boat tours on the lake too for people that have never been on Mosquito Lake before. We'll do pontoon tours. So if you want to sign up for that, call the Tourism Bureau. Right now, as of now, we have 48 people signed up for it. And it's all the movers and shakers from the mayor of Warren to anyone that has any type of clout that could do something on the lake, including ODNR and the Corps of Engineers. So
That's
looking forward to that. That's this Friday.
that starts at what time, then?
I think that starts at 9 a.m. But breakfast is at 8. And now on a more somber note that I need to bring up, we've met in this room. Every meeting, we've talked about 3 things: 911, coroner, dog pound. Dog pound, overwhelmed. The calls I got this last week, you probably did too, I'm sure. Jason, Healthy Hearts and Paws, out of room, out of money, needs dog food, needs supplies, needs space. Our dog pound maxed out. Anyone that's in the industry of helping dogs, especially with this heat, is, I mean, they're basically at their last leg of asking for help. I mean, they're going to be animals not getting the care they need real soon because they are just literally spent. We need to, again, keep chugging away to get this dog pound built, to get these animals facility they deserve. I read some in the paper here. Mr. Hickey's here. I'm not going to throw him under the bus with anything, but he's got to work in conditions now. And he's been a smile on his face with everything he does. And I don't know how. In the paper, I'm just going to read a quote that was in the paper. And this is something that hit me that hopefully puts a spark under all of us. They talked to Dr. LaPola, who was talking from the emergency management agency standpoint and making comments about the conditions at EMA, and with the coroner working there. They went to have a meeting in there, and they are really starting to put pressure. Trustees and everyone else are starting to put pressure on us and the coroner that they got to get something done. And he said here, they were in there. The smell was equivalent to putting a chicken and fish in a trash can, leaving it outside for 10 days, then taking a whiff. That's one of our neighbors that they're smelling. That is what this coroner deals with every day in conditions that don't have any type of proper conditions to remove that smell or to purify the smell, and where these guys are working. I don't know how they're able to do it. They're professionals, but Mr. Hickey and EMA, our tag people, our county engineers, our families, the loved ones that are in there don't deserve to read something like that and hear that that's the conditions we have our coroner working in, that we fund. We got to do better. We got to make a move. And sitting here waiting for a consultant waiting for a coroner's office to fall the sky isn't gonna happen. We gotta make it happen. And I personally take responsibility with the last board of not getting it done in October when it first happened. And now carrying over to this year, we've got to do something to alleviate this. He can't work in those conditions. We can have a tornado tomorrow and he's gonna have to mobilize all of his guys to get in there with this equipment and they're gonna have to deal with this. And meanwhile, we get one of the most brilliant medical examiners in the state that decides he wants to work for us. One of only 8 in the whole state. And he's working these conditions. And I don't know how that guy's gonna hang on very much longer if we don't give him at least an office to work in. You know, he's in a garage and he's doing things like this. We've got to put a fire under our asses. I don't know if we got to stay here 3 days a week, 4 days a week to do this and get something done. We have to keep moving forward on this. I know we've all pledged and we all want to do this. And I know right now we don't know where the funding is going to come from. We do have a consultant that we can worry about paying for it down the road. This is something that I think we are at emergency level with this. Not just we need to do this, we should do this. We have to do something now. We 3 as a board need to put this on our backs and take responsibility and get this done for all 3 of those things. The 911 center, the coroner, and the dog pound. Because we need to be able to face the public every day and answer the phone, and enough with the we don't have the money thing. You know, we need to figure it out. We need to figure it out. And I'm not blaming anyone here. We're all new. This is new for all of us to get into something like this. We were given the circumstances we have with the tax dollars, but we've got to do better with this stuff. We have to.
Well, Commissioner, I don't disagree. I mean, I understand that and I, concur with you 100% about what we need to do. I think, and I do know Commissioner Bernard, Commissioner Malloy, we're looking at grants and, looking to see that we could secure funding, but I personally believe at this point, especially with the coroner and what EMA is experiencing, I think that we're going to need to take some loans.
I think so too. I think we're at
I
that
think we're
point.
going to need to just bite the bullet. We're going to need to take some loans, and then maybe when the grants come in, if they could be delegated, to whatever it is that we're looking to fund, that would be great. But especially in the case of the coroner, I can't believe he's been as patient as he's been, to be honest with you.
I don't understand either.
I don't know where he's at, but like you had mentioned, we can't deal with those kind of substandard conditions when it comes to families, loved ones, and to hear the way that it's put, to be blunt about it. I really think we need to move forward, and we need to take a loan. And we need to get this move done.
Well, I think you guys are forgetting, we're waiting on a letter from the Treasury Department to tell us that we can reallocate the ARP money. And that's supposed to be coming very soon. Okay, and that alleviates us borrowing money that I don't want to do. But if we can reallocate that money, then we can move the EMA and then we can take care of the corner. We're waiting on that letter.
Well, let's take money off the table. Do we agree? Do we want to make the move to move him to the old fire department, remodel it for the $300,000 or so, and then at least start to think about the corner staying where he is, but retooling that place for proper
I think
ventilation,
that's the
proper
best.
plumbing?
I think if we get that letter from the Treasury, that's the best move. That's the cheapest move. That's the easiest move.
Are you firmly okay with that if we went that direction quickly?
And I told the director, John, I told him that once we get that letter and we're told that should be an easy letter for us to receive, then we're gonna do that. We just have to make sure how much money we have. And I don't want to tell everybody what we're trying to do, but we were also told in that meeting that, there's some other money out there that we can get back in from ARP and go through another funding source to fix another repair. that we can use that money too. So that's enough money to move him, and I think to take care of the coroner without borrowing money, and I think that's the direction that we should go. We should try that avenue before we borrow money. Easiest thing in the world to do, guys, is to raise taxes and borrow money. But I'm not sure that's the right answer.
If the ARPA monies are received, well, like you had mentioned, and available, if we were to assume a loan to make the move, can the ARPA still be delegated to that? Or do they have to be committed?
What ARPA funds? I mean, because there's not gonna be that much coming back.
I don't
Well,
know.
there's something that you don't know about.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Well, there is, and what we do know about though, is we do know we allocated $1 million to this command vehicle and he only spent 617,000. Add what we spent here today, we know we probably have about 300,000 left.
Yeah.
We know to get him a new home, it's about 300,000 to move into the building where he needs to go right away, 300,000 there. Then we just need to figure out the corner. We got him squared. Then we need to figure out what's it gonna take to retool that building. But I still think in the essence of time, we gotta do one of two things. Meet with the coroner and have him start at least getting bid proposals or things on what it would cost for ventilation at a new place. Can it be done even there? Is that a place that will work for him long-term or not? Or I take this meeting with Mahoney County Commissioners and we do look at, they got this new big building in Austintown where they said we could share services or share equipment, share the building, share the space, but do our own autopsies and not cross over doing each other's work, but at least have one central facility with this new big building they just bought from the Port Authority in Austintown. It's a half a mile across our county line. And it's a regional concept, which we know the state rep said they love the regional approach, and the governor would love that when it comes to funding structures. So those are the two immediate options that we have on the table, I think. I think the quickest one is where he is now, but getting John out of there and getting the ventilation, all that stuff right for that building.
Oh, we gotta.
We can't move him if we're gonna, if we're gonna regionalize the coroner's office.
I understand that.
Okay, so that's why, I think we gotta just figure out where the heck we're going. We don't have a price for Mahoney County, what it's gonna cost us. And once we go there, then we're always gonna pay something. With moving him and let the coroner take it on over his building, once that's paid for, then it's over.
Yeah,
Then there are no more costs.
there's a lot of questions on that,
I
move.
think what we need to do is we need that letter, and we need to find out when that letter's coming, and if it's coming, then we need to make sure how much ARPA money we have left out.
As I'm doing the reporting, I'm like doing a little tally. It won't be exact, but I can see.
Give us a general
Yeah.
idea.
Well, one last idea, I think. If we left John where he was, is there a possibility the building at the fairgrounds would work for the coroner?
Not right now,
I think it would cost more money.
don't have sewer there.
Right, that's a huge.
Yeah, that is.
That's why,
I don't even think.
that's why they ended up where they are now.
Yep.
Because initially they were going to put them there, but they don't have sewer.
Sewer and ventilation are the two things through the architect study we learned they need the most, and the plan seemed easy. Oh, we're gonna move the corner over to Chestnut. Then we get the bill from the architect, over $2 million, 2.2 million to refit that room, because you needed elevator lifts, you needed ventilation, you had employees working upstairs from where they're gonna be doing the autopsies. So a special type of ventilation for that, and the price tag just got beyond the reach.
Well, let's see if we can get that letter by next week. That's a must.
Have we considered selling Chestnut also?
We've talked about it, we just haven't kind of, anything yet. We've talked.
That would be money.
We've talked
towards-
about Port Authority maybe, right? And selling.
Commissioner, to your question, Bill Danso, prosecutor's office, I don't know off the top of my head, that's something we might want to reach out to Tanya on is if we take out preliminary debt, can you pay down debt with ARPA funds? My gut feeling's probably telling me no, I'll say that, but that's something that we could follow up and check on. And just to throw out there too, that I know that Chestnut, the price tag was pretty expensive, no question on Chestnut there. But I think the other thing just to consider as you guys look at it is if we're talking about renovating Bezetta for EMA, if we're talking about renovating the old EMA or the current EMA structure for the coroner, do all of those pieces added up? Especially you're gonna do new engineering also. Do those pieces all add up to close to what you'd have into Chestnut for kind of a redone facility there? And I hate to look over at our facilities guys over there, but I don't know if maybe that's something that they could, just preliminarily help give you some guidance on what their thoughts are. Just because, if the totals start to look close and, yeah, I just don't know. Those are your decisions, obviously, as the board, but there could be a lot of moving parts here depending on which direction you guys choose to go.
Well, also Chestnut, just close, they opened the hospital back up, they're right there.
It's true.
So the study for Chestnut, what was that? $2 million?
2.2. And it still was stretching it to make it fit. And I was in there. I don't see how they can do that. I mean, it's just they'd have to put elevator lifts and everything else. It was, to me, I'm like, this is a horrible idea from the get-go.
Well, let's see if we can get that letter from the Treasury. I think that's the key to start the moving part.
Meanwhile, I guess
And find out how much money we have.
I'm gonna ask for a meeting with the coroner to get his thoughts on this and see. Get some things locked down with that, and we figure out we have the funding. I think we need to. I don't want us to be in the boat waiting for someone to rescue us. I think it's time we jump out and start swimming for shore.
Well, it needs to be escalated, absolutely. The move, the 300,000, we don't know if the corner can make the current facility fit, correct?
Well, we assume, but it comes down to HVAC and ventilation. That's the big key. There are certain parameters. We already have the cooler there. When they have the garage there, they can refit and retool.
Commissioner, we have a temporary.
No, we have a cooler. We bought paid 39,000
in
for.
there, it's installed,
Yeah.
and is it properly?
It's what the coroner wanted. It's the one where no matter where he went, that's the cooler he's gonna use. That's why we bought it.
I know that, but it can't go in there, there's a reason. You should talk to the coroner first, that's all I'm gonna say. You should talk to the coroner.
Okay.
Well, the other problem too is that, John, if you move out there to, Bezetta, then there's also talk about the sheriff has some equipment in there and he's gonna need a place to store that. And you were looking at maybe
A garage.
Yeah, do you have a cost on that garage?
I don't. I was kind of initially waiting to hear, but to be
You can
honest,
get like around.
well, I am. I'm moving
Figure.
forward, but get costs.
Yeah, because that equipment has to be
Well,
stored.
and there are other buildings on the fairgrounds that aren't used to full capacity. The fairgrounds has some maintenance buildings of their own, and they have the old, where the horses used to be near Gate A, that whole area up there with the sheriff could store stuff if need be.
But, well, he probably needs to go out and look at it, make sure it's adequate.
Yeah, Commissioners Alex and Jonesy Bush, I mean, I was with Dr. D'Amico when we're looking at operations of how he needs to run his facility. This is not a place where, again, we're looking at clerical offices where you can just plug and play. This is something that has to be compliant. This is something that has to work for his regulations of what his people do every single day. You need to be very cognizant of that. And I do believe the coroner said, yeah, I think that what I heard was, I think this could work, the EMA building. I think this could work for my location and my operations. However, think about it this way. That's what they thought with Chestnut too, until they got the actual feasibility study, is what I'm trying to say to the board. So just because I think it can work and the actual functionality of it actually working are two very different things.
But there's also the possibility
That's all I'm
too.
gonna say.
They did the autopsy and everything at the hospital, but his staff was still at the Board of Elections.
Correct.
His staff could stay where they are.
Right.
And we could still have a place for him to do what he does at EMA. We don't have to move the whole staff there. Yeah, we could maybe have a front office there, a reception office for families, and not move the whole staff over there if they be. They're already okay where they are. And we have the building downstairs where senior levy used to be. We can utilize that as a family conference room now because we're not using it for anything else if need be.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's multiple But my first, also I'm saying if the first step should be solidifying it with the person, that elected official who's running those operations, because the last thing we want to keep doing is you really got to get a strategic plan together. That's step. And doesn't have the proper ventilation needed. I get we have the cooler in there now. But it's still a problem, so I'm saying, are we, there's things that need to be done, like,
Right, it's gonna need retooled, no doubt about it. It's gonna need, like you said.
but is it feasible, right?
Yeah, that's one thing we need to look at. He
So,
believed it was when he went in there, when we had the first preliminary talks about moving John.
well, and I'm sure we believe the same thing with Chestnut at one point, believe versus actuality,
Right.
two different things.
Right.
So, I just. Gotta move.
Okay, well, we'll have to talk to.
Let's see if we can't get that letter too.
I just don't wanna have us being in a meeting at the end of August and we're still talking about the same thing we can't have this.
We gotta make moves. Whatever way that looks, whatever we have to do. I get it about the letter and everything, but. You know, we gotta have some wins. We're commissioners, we gotta make moves and we gotta have some wins. We have a lot of hits. And, you know, we could bring up the monies and everything, you know, a lot of monies that were delegated with ARPA that could have done some things, but we can't keep going down that road. We're gonna have to make some.
When you borrow, you have to pay back.
I know. Yeah. All right, we're gonna need to move on. Comments? Gary?
Yeah, commissioners, Gary Newbrow, sanitary engineer. As you know, my office, we only have 3 engineers on staff at Vienna. It's myself, Chuck Miller, Bill McCoskey. Chuck Miller is retiring. His last day is gonna be somewhere here at the end of August. And we have another engineer here that graduated from YSU in 2020. And he interviewed with us for another position. It was for one of the draft position out there. Less than 6 months ago. And he, interviewed well. We like him. And anyway, I would like to have it on next week's agenda to go ahead and bring this individual in to be Chuck Miller's replacement out there.
What's his name, Gary?
It's not on the resume and I can't remember what it is, but resume rules on resumes, you can't have the names on them. But, yeah, everything here checks out and Bob has interviewed him before for another position and he has contacted our office asking if there's any openings. So we got somebody that's motivated to want to work for the government and he's currently in the Army Reserves. It's a good record here and I like the idea that he's military. And anyway, I just want to give you a heads up before we put it on the agenda next week.
Well, I like to see his resume and his name.
Okay, Alex, you may be able to find that name first.
Yeah, I don't know what's
Oh,
happening there, but there's no role that a name can't be on a resume.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what happened.
I asked Bob for his resume and he handed me this and it has no name on it. So.
Okay, yeah, no, I mean, all the resumes we send over have names on
Yeah,
them,
my-
so I'm not sure what happened.
When it's ready to cut it off. or
Yeah, I don't know.
Does-
No, I do know,
I don't know.
in the past, we
Supposed to be
stopped, so we
blind on
stopped.
it, Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna speak to that, so we stopped, there was, again, in the past, a commissioner. New board, okay, there was a commissioner who wanted all names redacted on the resumes before HR sent them to me. We stopped that a long time ago. Because we do have fair ranking, we have fair grading, HR goes through everything. Now, I've never seen this, I have no clue what we're talking about, but, figure it out. But. Yeah, no,
Well, Bob should have his name, hopefully.
Yeah, he does.
Well, have him put his name on there and send us a,
Yeah.
Well, I have him do it professionally, have him put it on.
yeah, and then, we can't put it on the agenda for next week until the candidate's been drug tested. So we need to look at that as well, but I guess you're just asking.
We're not gonna
I'm just
advertise,
trying to get them in there.
You're-
before
you're
Chuck
asking
leaves. If he
if-
could just have a
yes.
couple days
And
with
if-
Chuck.
so we're not gonna advertise for the position, we're just gonna take that one then, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, since we already had his resume on file, we've interviewed him before. I think he's a
Yeah, but it
pretty,
was for a different position. Shouldn't we advertise the position or should?
I mean, I,
oh, then I'm stuck
I'm
with
asking.
no overlap.
yeah, I mean, I always advertise that is just the way that the word is. I advertise for the position. That is our. It's not a good practice, but
I'm desperate. Chuck's leaving.
Well, we understand that, well, you should have came earlier.
Yeah, I think this is a little different from someone stepping up from assistant to the position inherently in house. Or bringing someone new in from the outside, I think it needs to be open. Cause we never know what candidates are out there that
Right,
may want.
I mean, the thing is though. Gary, there's nothing to stop him, if once we properly close the position, I mean, this, like I said, this is all, he can just hunt for it, I mean, there's nothing to stop him.
My whole thing is I want somebody to interview before Chuck's gone by the end of the month.
Yeah.
And I get it's not gonna happen, so I tried.
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
not gonna happen because you came in late with it, because we have to advertise for it.
well, not only that, but I still have to, it's a county role, we have to send them for BCI, background checks and drug testing.
Yeah, I know, we gotta just.
So no matter what, I mean, we do have some steps that we need to overcome, and I don't break that for anybody, I'm just gonna be very clear, because that's a county policy.
Right, I wasn't playing around. I was gonna go back, tell Bob, hey, Bob, see, this guy still wants a job. Set up the BCI, all this stuff, let's get all that done, let's try to get it on the agenda, get him hired before Chuck's out. But if that's not the procedure, the commissioners want, that's your prerogative, and I'll follow your.
We want the
directions.
procedure, what the
Yeah.
county HR procedure. That's in place, we're gonna follow that.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
and we are very stringent, just for the record, I have many even other elected officials. Newly elected officials who have tried to kind of do the same thing, will this apply for this position, this. HR has to keep a compliant record of who applied for what positions, that way when we're audited, I can go back and I can show. And if there's any people saying that there was potential disparate treatment in the hiring process, I can validate any and all of that. Smith knows what I'm talking about, he's done public records before, for who's applied for positions, so I do take that very serious, that's something that I do to protect the county, I'm sure, I can't say it's always been done before me, but I know that it's being done now. So I just ask that everybody try, I mean, unless there's some odd forsaken reason, like somebody, obviously there's emergencies come up in life where people pass away and we need to figure something out. But that's not the case here, we really should adhere to policy and procedure, because if we.
Okay,
break our-
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. So you good with
Okay.
advertise it?
I'm good with them filling the position, advertise it.
Yeah, that's.
Replace one.
We can go ahead and advertise.
Just as long as we do it the proper way.
Right.
I agree with that.
Maybe Chuck can stay on an extra week or two.
I tried that, believe me, I've done everything I can to keep on.
Well, tell him we
It's
won't
not
accept-
working.
Tell him we want to accept his resignation, that's his retirement. That's all.
All right.
Tell him to give us 2 extra weeks, that's all.
And Gary, there is something that we can talk about offline too. There's, again. Maybe you can stay on in a part-time capacity, 2 days a week for training. We can talk about, work with me and I'll work with you. We can.
All right,
absolutely-
Chuck is dead set, he wants to go.
Or even like maybe 1 day a week.
Believe me, I've done everything I could.
Okay. You begged Gary.
We'll just tell him this paperwork. No,
It's lost.
It's not. Sorry.
2 week delay, Chuck, you
Yeah.
can't retire. If you got any questions, call Mr. Danzo.
Don't print that ring. Okay. Yes, sir. Senior services.
Hi, Bob Wolfter, Senior Services Advisory Council. I apologize for coming in late today. I see on agenda 7, you already addressed the appointment of one new member for our council. That still leaves us 3 people short. Now, this has nothing to do with money because we're all volunteers. We don't get paid a nickel. Ever since I retired from my day job, I've never worked so hard for nothing in my entire life. But we need these people, considering the importance and the public spotlight, that we have to deal with, you have. It's very important that we have these 3 people, so if it's at all possible that you could. Maybe modify this somewhat so that you deal with more than one appointment tomorrow. we would be very grateful.
Well, the reason we didn't, we just don't have enough candidates right now. We only have 3 more candidates that applied. One, we think there's a conflict of interest. The other 2, we haven't spoken to yet. We know nothing about them. So we just asked earlier, if there are more people that want to apply, we'll take their interest now and get it filled as soon as we can, but we just don't have enough to fill right now,
I see.
even if we wanted to. But we will look at the other ones that are in there and hopefully be able to do something with them if they fit the need.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, we have another meeting coming up with senior services. I don't know, any other? Ms. Ferragamo, our new treasurer, would you like to address the commission? You're good? You're looking forward to September?
And
And welcome aboard.
thank you.
All right, well,
Chair, motion to adjourn.
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Bernard,
Yes.
Mr. Malloy,
Yes.
and that's.
yes,
I need
signature. Okay.